Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're definitively breaking down the difference and the incredibly powerful synergy between Lean and Six Sigma. If you spent any time looking into process management, you've probably heard these two terms just lumped together, right? Like they're one big concept. Well, today, we are separating them, understanding their unique strengths, and then putting them back together to show you exactly how they form the ultimate marriage and business efficiency.
To kick things off, let's shatter that common misconception right out of the gate. As this quote beautifully illustrates, we are dealing with two completely distinct tools. They aren't synonyms, they aren't just fancy buzzwords to throw into a corporate presentation. They are two entirely different weapons in the battle against inefficiency. And knowing when to use which, that's your secret to operational excellence.
Okay, let's quickly run through our agenda. We're going to cover the battle against inefficiency, look at Lean as the business diet, and explore Six Sigma as the precision weapon. Then we'll discuss the limit of Sigma 4, dive into the ultimate marriage of the two, and finally, put your knowledge to the test.
All right, let's jump straight into part one, the battle against inefficiency, where we'll understand the baseline of continuous improvement.
Before we talk about how these methodologies are different, we really need to understand the common ground they're both fighting on. Both philosophies actually share the exact same fundamental goal, and that is continuous improvement. And that improvement is driven entirely by what the customer is willing to pay for. Because think about it, failure costs, things like reworking a bad product, handling angry customer complaints, or just throwing away defective materials, those can eat up a massive 17% of a company's revenue. So both Lean and Six Sigma are out to aggressively minimize those failure costs and maximize customer satisfaction.
Moving right along to part two, let's look at Lean, which we call the business diet, and see how it strips away the excess.
The source material brilliantly defines Lean as a business diet. It's literally designed to return an organization to its absolute core by stripping away anything that doesn't add value. Lean is totally obsessed with the speed and the flow of the process. Take a logistics company like BlueprintRM&Co, for example. Putting them on a Lean diet means crossing out totally unnecessary steps. We're talking about making sure warehouse employees aren't walking extra, useless meters and aggressively eliminating waiting times when handing packages over to the transporter. It is all about speed and flow.
This whole idea actually originates from the famous Toyota production system, and it's highly pragmatic. You basically figure out what your customer actually cares about, you map out exactly how you deliver that value, you cut out the waste, like the waiting around and the extra movements, and you create a continuous, uninterrupted flow. It's an incredibly effective first step for any business looking to improve.
Now for part three. Enter Six Sigma, the precision weapon. This is where we eliminate variation through deep statistics.
So if Lean is a diet, think of Six Sigma as a microscope. Unlike Lean's broad focus on the flow of the whole process, Six Sigma is a heavy, data-driven methodology that zeroes in on the final output itself and the specific inputs required to get there. It's all about minimizing variation. Let's go back to our BlueprintRM&Co example. Say the weight sensors at their packing table deviate even just a tiny bit. Suddenly, the shipping labels are wrong and the final deliveries fail. Lean can't fix a broken sensor, but Six Sigma, it uses deep statistics to just ram that variation right out of the system, ensuring the product is delivered perfectly the first time.
The mathematical logic here is absolutely brilliant. Y equals a function of x plus epsilon, meaning your final result, the y, is never just random. It is strictly a logical consequence of your inputs and your execution. Those are your x variables, plus a tiny, tiny margin of uncertainty, the epsilon. It's simple. If you want a perfect y, you have to strictly control your x's.
And that brings us to the legendary standard of Six Sigma, 3.4. A true Six Sigma process permits a maximum of only 3.4 defects per 1 million opportunities. I mean, that is near absolute perfection. We're not talking most of the time quality here. We're talking a statistically guaranteed level of precision. Which leads us perfectly into part 4, the limit of Sigma 4, and exactly why Lean desperately needs a partner.
You might be wondering, if they both fight inefficiency, why on earth do we need both? Well, look at it this way. Lean clears the path. It focuses on the process and speeds things up by tossing out the garbage. But a fast process doesn't automatically guarantee a flawless product. That's where Six Sigma comes in, focusing on the result and quality by mathematically removing variation. Simply put, Lean makes you fast, Six Sigma makes you perfect.
But here's the catch. It turns out Lean methods will really only get a business to about a Sigma 4 level of quality. That's kind of its natural ceiling, which translates to roughly 6,200 defects per million. Now, what if Blueprint RM&Co is scanning and shipping incredibly expensive laptops? 6,200 errors is way too costly. To guarantee those high-end laptops are virtually never scanned incorrectly, so hitting that elite 3.4 defects per million standard, lean just isn't enough. You absolutely need the deep statistical power of Six Sigma to push past that limit.
Let's move on to Part 5, the ultimate marriage, and how we combine these forces in the real world.
To really push past that Sigma 4 limit, we have to combine them. Let's apply our source's real-world e-commerce data to make this super concrete. Think about a bold.com package delivery. Lean is what ensures that package moves quickly through the system. It's focused on flow, keeping the delivery time safely between a lower specification limit of 1 day and an upper limit of 3 days. Nice and efficient. But let's say you have a web store generating invoices. Speed means absolutely nothing if the bill is wrong, right? Six Sigma statistically guarantees that the invoice hits all 6 critical to quality defect opportunities, like the right address, the right price, the right quantities, with 0 variation. Lean gets the package there on time. Six Sigma ensures the invoice inside is flawlessly accurate. Together, they literally cover the entire spectrum.
All right, we've made it to Part 6. Time to test your knowledge and really solidify this methodology.
Now that we've walked through this ultimate marriage, it is time to put on our student hats. I want you to literally pause this explainer right now and ask yourself these 3 sharp control questions. First, what is the core difference in focus between Lean and Six Sigma? Second, at what Sigma level does Lean typically hit its ceiling? And third, exactly how many defects are permitted per million opportunities in Six Sigma? If you can articulate those answers clearly, you've completely grasped the absolute core of process management.
We really hope this definitive breakdown empowers you to master process management and look at your own workflows totally differently. And as they say in Dutch, ter lering and vermaak, for learning and entertainment. Thanks so much for joining this explainer. But before you head back to work today, ask yourself one quick question. Is your business currently on a diet, or does it need a microscope?